practitioners to kind of help an individual, even myself, my family, to lead them back in the direction of helping people build health. Technically, my licenses are in chiropractic and acupuncture, functional medicine. I've been around this for a long time. I have, athletes and celebrities and all that good stuff. And I have families and little kids and people who have autoimmune conditions. So I really run the entire gamut of healthcare. And, in this time right here, right now, this is probably the most applicable for healthcare, which is a little bit different than necessarily just sick care. And we need both of them. But I think right now with everything that goes on, it's more obvious than ever. What we're really needing is a real strong emphasis toward healthcare. And that's, Raleigh, you and I, those are things you and I have talked about a fair amount. And I think maybe even that's why you're having me show up here today.
Yeah, that is correct. That is correct. I first met Dr. Bart probably about 3 years ago, two and a half or 3 years ago, and actually started working with him personally about 5 months ago. That was already going in a great direction. And, some of y'all know I had rhabdomyolysis, or however the heck you say it, twice last year. Once during the board meeting where I had to leave and go to the ER. And that's kind of what got me wanting to talk to Dr. Bart. But since then, of course, everything has kind of pivoted with the COVID-19 pandemic. And right when all of this was really just starting to hit here in the United States, at least, Dr. Bart gave a presentation to a group called the Next Level Experience, which was on or about 2 months ago, actually. It was around March 13th, give or take. And I wasn't there because I wanted to go, but I needed to be here for a March 15th tax deadline. But I got to watch a replay of that video. And basically after watching that replay, that's what really got me thinking that you would be a great speaker for our club in the greater Houston area. So I just want to ask you a few questions of my own, and then I wanted to open it up for other Q&A. But my first question is, what do you think is the biggest misperception of everything that's going on right now?
Wow, that's a big question. I think I want to lead into that just a little bit. I think the biggest challenge right now, Raleigh, is collectively across the board, there's massive uncertainty. And that's why 2-3 months ago, or whatever it was, that when I was speaking up in New York, and the very, very front end of this, myself and I think a lot of other healthcare practitioners could see in advance that there was going to be an issue here. And the issue starts with the fact that we were uncertain about this virus. And what made it even worse is that we had a heavy, heavy focus on the mortality rate. And that put us all in a tailspin. And ultimately, it provoked an emotion that was really the emotion of fear. And I love you guys' little, I don't know what you call them, the 4 invocations to start this is truth and stuff like that. And the challenge with fear, it leads to more uncertainty, which leads us to retreating more so than taking action. And the biggest, I think, misperception right now is that some of the action steps that we have been kind of led to right now, wearing masks and social distancing and wearing gloves and these other different actions that we've been taking, that there's a misperception that this is going to make the virus go away. So right now, that is at the forefront, because the truth is, and listen, I completely get that there's one of the biggest conversations right now on Facebook is, should I wear a mask or not wear a mask? Should I social distance? Should I open up businesses? And these are true and they're real to all of us. Like they're like, what is the right answer? And if I could, share anything with you guys, I want to say this. Listen, this is the time that we need collectively, and I see you guys as leaders, that as leaders, we need to start bringing people together, not farther apart, regardless of our personal emotions regarding those things like masks and social distancing. That right now we need to have defined personal action steps that get us smarter and get us stronger. And if we have those, we start to reduce the uncertainty, because the uncertainty drives that fear. The fear drives these poor emotions. So when I talk about the masks, listen, I think maybe you have a physician in this group here. I saw him walking around with the mask. Listen, because right now we hear about masks. Are they important? Should everyone be wearing one all the time? And listen, that if I throw a glass of water on someone, they have a mask on, definitely they're going to get less wet. And there's certainly a benefit to getting less honest with the mask. At the same time, there's an argument, if I wear a mask all the time, am I impeding my own health? And there's that true argument as well. What most importantly, what I want you guys to take away is that we've got to soften the edges. Let's not make one group wrong and one group right. It is more important now that we allow ourselves to come together. And this is the mindset that is most important. Besides the mask, besides the distancing and the gloves, is having this type of mindset, and that's this. Either that you know that you're either have been exposed or you're going to be exposed. If you accept that and then create a strategy, then we can start to lose some of the fear and the uncertainty. Because the truth is, regardless of the reasons of why, we have to open up the economy again. We're going to have secondary challenges, health challenges, people dying. We're going to have other issues, and it's going to require every one of us as individuals to start leading. And in a moment here, Raleigh, if you guys want, I'll dive into some of these actions that we can take, because at the end of the day, even the social distancing, and listen, when I first came out and started talking about it, I said, yeah, social distancing is a good strategy initially, but it's designed to flatten the curve. It does not make the virus go away. So collectively, we have to say, all right, I'm going to be exposed to this virus. Who am I going to be when I get exposed? And that, Raleigh, is if we have a little time, we'll dive into what are the action steps that we need to take here.
Got it. Actually, I would love to dive into that if you'll just keep going.
Yeah. And then if you guys have any questions, you can throw them in that chat, and I'll see if I can answer them along the way here. Because I know this is a wide open territory. And I think every one of you here, none of us are 20. So we've all been through a lot of stuff, and that's reality. And we know to get out of this stuff.
You wrote our mission statement. You just have 4 simple but very important words.
To get out of the stuff, it requires us as individuals to start leading. We can't wait for other people to lead us out of that stuff. So I'm going to give you guys some things that are going to seem so fundamental, but are so powerful, because the idea of making the stronger self is really what gets us out of this. We have dealt with viruses before. We've dealt with novel viruses before. This is not a human being's first rodeo, and this will not be the last one. So we got to get ourselves stronger. So I'll share with you a couple strategies. They're fundamentally going to seem simple, yet they're powerful. Raleigh, back in New York, that video that you saw, I got to ask the question, what are my feelings? What do I think about? Am I really worried about COVID-19? And my answer was this, is that I wasn't worried about the virus. What I was worried about the state of health in our country. And that's a big challenge. And the reason being is because we've got probably 100 million people that have high blood pressure. We've probably got 100 million plus people that are pre-diabetic. And we have a lot of these other conditions that lead us to not having such a strong immune system. So I'm going to dive into some of the things that literally help us. They're time-tested, research-based, that help us boost up the immune system. So that being said, number one is this. The very, very first thing we need to do really good is sleep. I know that sounds fundamental, yet listen, our white blood cells, your natural killer cells, your T cells activate when you sleep. I'm not talking about sleeping with a glass of wine or taking some medication. I'm talking about good old-fashioned sleep. Your immune system activates at night. And so the first part of that is a little hormone called melatonin. Melatonin releases those white blood cells that tell them to go to work. But if we don't sleep good, those are the same thing to hunt down viruses. They hunt down bacteria. They also hunt down cancer cells. So fundamentally, sleep is one of the things that as leaders, we should be going, hey, what do we need to do to become better sleepers? Number 2 is real simple. That's diet, folks. Listen, the simplest way I can say this, in this part, listen, in Raleigh, we can't get away from this, meaning that if we're eating sugar, if we're having these diets that consist of a lot of sugar and a lot of carbohydrates, that causes inflammation. And this is important. This is a challenge. The reason that we're so afraid, and I don't mean that belittling, but the only reason that we are afraid of COVID-19 is for one specific reason. We have a fear of dying. Okay? That's it. If the medical professionals came out and said, hey, listen, it's a really bad virus, and all you got to be worried about is a high fever. All you got to be worried about is a cough. We wouldn't give it a second thought. We would just keep blowing through our borders, like our businesses would be open, everything would be good. But the fact that there's death lingering out there. And why is that? Because at the end of the day, this virus, for people that have coexisting things like diabetes, things like high blood pressure, cholesterol level issues, high inflammatory states, the challenge there is an oxygen exchange issue. So that's what it really boils down to. So if we can decrease our levels of inflammation, we can absorb oxygen better. So these are fundamentals. Yet, I will tell you guys, and I kind of hopefully this will hold some of you accountable. Listen, if you haven't been doing anything different for your diet since the last 8 weeks, start now. That's leadership. That's, do things that become your truth. Allow yourself to level up, every day, even if it's just a little bit. Because the way out of this is ultimately that as a country, the whole globe for that matter, we've got to let ourselves get a little stronger. And the third one is this: we got to move. And you notice I didn't say the word exercise. I just meant move. As human beings, we're designed to move. My simple analogy is this. Everyone's familiar with what a pond is. Maybe a little head nods here so I can see you guys. Difference between a pond and a river. If we are sitting here in our chairs, that's my bulldog, by the way, that's Daryl. If we're sitting in our chairs all day long and we have stress and worry and fear and concern, and we're drinking a diet soda, and maybe we're having some donuts, I don't know, I'm making it up, and we're sitting here, think of a pond, it builds bacteria, it builds viruses, everything can grow in there that we don't want. The flip side, when we're moving, when the water's flowing, when things are moving and flowing, our body flushes out and cleans itself. Humans were designed to move. There's nothing about sitting down in our desk all day that's natural. It doesn't feel good, it doesn't work good. So 30 minutes of just brisk walking, it literally is researched, so many research papers on just walking shows a natural boost of natural killer cells. Those lymphocytes are what hunt down viruses. These are the conversations that we need to be having within our families, between our coworkers, with our friends, because there are so many natural ways that we can be boosting our immune system. The opposite, and listen, I'm not saying that this was the instruction, but the idea of stay at home and seclude ourselves with stress, with worry, with fear, not a super strong model. So the idea we're going to get a little smarter, a little stronger here. And then another simple one, and Raleigh, you and I have talked a lot about this, and if anyone wants to interject, just throw a message out, something on the chat there. Another one is this: there are certain supplements you can take that allow you to feed your immune system. So last night I gave a big talk about, when I don't even call it the immune system anymore, I call it the immune alliance, because we don't have one system. Like if I'm talking about your endocrine system, like your hormones, yes, we have very specific thyroid gland, adrenal glands, your testes, your ovaries. But your immune system is made up of everything. And that's really important for us to understand, because that means we can make improvements anywhere. Like your long bones are part of your immune system because they produce the red blood cells. You have your respiratory system. Your lungs are part of your immune system. You have something called your thymus gland, part of your immune system. That's where your white blood cells. Your spleen, which we've often heard that we don't even need that guy. That's where your antibodies are made. So we have so many ways that we can enhance our immune system, sometimes by just taking simple things like supplements. You got to take the right ones. And if you want, we can maybe share a link or something like that. But there are a couple simple ones if you're not doing it already. There's 3 I'm going to mention. Vitamin D, folks. This is probably the most well-researched out there. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble supplement. It basically helps you enhance what we call the lipid layer. That's the wall around your cells. It's your defense mechanism. I'm in here in Florida, and I run labs on people every day. And for the last 10 years, when things, even with all the sun that we have, most people are deficient in vitamin D. The reason vitamin D is so important for every one of us, it's an immune modulator, which means that it activates your immune system. It says, hey, there's a fire over here. There's a fire over here. So that is one of the simplest supplements that, folks, if you're not already taking a good source of vitamin D, that's a simple one to strategize. and a good question that should be being asked here, and I'll talk about the second wave because this is really what it means. Listen, there is going to be a second wave. There has to be, because the distancing did not make the virus go away. It just kept it at bay so we wouldn't overwhelm our hospitals. And I think our country's done an amazing job. I salute all the people, the doctors, the hospitals, everyone who's managed that system, because we weren't overwhelmed. So we didn't lose lives because our systems were backed up. Now it's time that we have to face the fiddler. We got to go out and we got to get smart and strong, because we're going to be exposed to this virus at some point. So do I think there'll be a second wave? Absolutely. Do I think it's a bad thing? No. That's eventually how we get stronger. And that's why these strategies that I'm talking about, cleaning up our diet, getting a little better sleep, moving a little better, getting the supplements in, these are long-term strategies. These are strategies that hopefully, when I get here done today, that something I've said or do, something inspires you to take at least a little bit of action. These are the ones that literally help us level up. And then the other, there's another important vitamin in there. There's something called vitamin C. I use a very specific type. Without going into all the details, a full complex vitamin C is a little bit different than just ascorbic acid. So I love research myself, and I understand why a lot of the medical community is frowning upon people saying that vitamin C can cure us from COVID. It doesn't. In fact, regular ascorbic acid is just an antioxidant. It doesn't help oxygenate the cell. It does not help any of the vascular integrity. But the full complex vitamin C, there's a big difference here. And Raleigh, again, I'll share that with you guys if that's helpful. The old school whole food version of vitamin C can actually increase the amount of oxygen capacity that a cell has. And that's where our strategy needs to be. Lower inflammation, increase the capacity of oxygen, that increases healing. The best way to say that is, the example I'll give you guys is, the challenge we have with this virus is that it has oxidative stress. We can't get enough oxygen in the cell dies, it breaks down the body, and then we have fatal conditions at times. Imagine for a second, here's your analogy. You take a banana, you peel it, you leave it on the counter, and it turns brown in a couple hours. That's oxidation. That's what is happening in the inside of our body when we don't have the proper protection. So the fifth thing I usually talk about when it comes to what do we need to do right now, so we talk about sleep, we talk about eating, we talk about moving, we talk about supplement, the mindset. And this, I think, is the most important one. I think a group like this, I love the fact that you guys are getting together with this. You have your kind of almost your bylaws and talking about the truth. And does that truth serve others? And I think this is an important part for all of us right now, that we really start to come from our heart a little bit more and ask ourselves, the words that we're putting out, the comments we have on Facebook, the things that we're sharing with our family, are we spreading love or fear? Are we beating people down or picking them up? And if you've been lured, or if you've been a little compromised and got into those dialogues and those conversations that don't necessarily serve each other and don't serve you, it's okay that you can make that shift now. I find myself often on Facebook and I want to reach out and strangle people because of the way things are going. Yet I know that doesn't serve me, first of all, and it doesn't serve my wife and my family, my community, or the patients that I have. So that conversation of, this is probably the first thing that needs to get going properly. There's a big gap right now, and I know you guys know that. A big gap, and the gap that I mean is there are people who are ready, and I don't mean bravado, and I don't mean be foolish, but they're ready to take on the challenges that they have and move forward as a result of being smart and taking action, getting stronger. And on the flip side, there are some amazing human beings going in the opposite direction. And they're unfortunately having more fear, more concern, more worry. And they're moving in the opposite direction. And as a result of that, they're limiting their actions and they're limiting the ability to live. And that's one of the biggest things when I see what's taking place today. I see a lot of people, they've stopped living as a result of some of this fear.
Wow. Yeah, that's everything I wanted to hear. Thank you. On that note, we do have a couple questions, and you kind of addressed both of them already, looking in the chat. But One of them on, I don't know that you went this far, Todd, I guess, said he heard wearing a mask could actually reduce your ability to build your immunity. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and it is a great question, and it's a big one out there right now. So naturally, this is how things go naturally. When we touch things with our hands, we have what's called a microbiome, a natural immune, part of the systems on our hands, and it checks on things like viruses and bacteria and parasites. All the different pathogens start in our hand, and our body starts to then reduce them. Really, for a virus, a lot of times we just neutralize a virus right on our hand. That's as long as we have good microbiome. The second part is when we get into our mouth. And then we have different enzymes, and especially in our stomach, we have something called hydrochloric acid that reduces and kills a lot of bacteria and a lot of viruses. But to do that, we need natural air and natural oxygen exchange. In the event we are just recirculating stuff, no doubt we can compromise our immune system. Now, that being said, listen, I don't want us to say just because you're going to put a mask on, it's going to downregulate your health. I think this is a scenario we have to narrow the edges, meaning that there's some people that have compromised immune systems. I think right now it's probably smart that they're wearing a mask more often. But do not think that this is the golden shield. I want to give you an example of this because this came up in one of my talks last night. We're standing 6 feet apart. You have a mask on, I don't. I sneeze on you. And you're like, oh, good thing I have a mask on. But the truth is, your hair, your clothes, your arms, everything else could have been exposed. So later you take the mask off, but you've touched everything so many times. Again, the exposure is still going to be there. And that is why this mindset of thinking, I'm going to get exposed. Who am I going to be? Am I going to be strong enough when I'm exposed? So the mask, people ask me, and I'll be honest with you, I see patients several days a week. In the beginning, I was wearing a mask more frequently. At this point, I don't personally wear a mask. If my patients come in with a mask, I will gladly, respectfully wear a mask for them. I have great rapport with my patients. If they want me to put a mask on, I do. If they're comfortable without me one, I'm comfortable with it as well.
Got it. Got it. And another question, which again, you did kind of address, but it was about the second wave being possibly more uncontrollable than the first wave. Because you mentioned the second wave could be a good thing for us, but what are your thoughts on, I guess, the size of it and such?
Yeah, and Laura, I'll mention that third supplement. I thought I forgot something there. I don't know that the second wave is going to be worse. I do believe that we're going to, listen, I don't want to make anything like, I do think that we're going to make it sound worse than it is, because it is not going to go away. So the people that are saying, hey, listen, we opened too early, this happened too fast, when we do get a wave, they're going to kind of point that finger. I think anyone in the healthcare world will say, listen, if we all step back, when we do expose ourselves, we're going to have some level of wave, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. The reason that we hear so many conversations about asymptomatic people is because most people can handle this virus with absolutely no symptoms. And that actually should be touted as a good thing, not a bad thing. Because if I can get the virus and my body, I can go through a normal day and I don't feel bad, that's perfect. Then I'll build some immunity to it. And that is what I expect to see for the most part moving forward.
Got it. And you mentioned the supplement questions. I think there's several people have questions about the supplements. For those of y'all on the call, Dr. Bart got me on those supplements 2 months ago now, and I've been taking them steady. Why don't you tell us just a little bit more about those and which ones you like? Yeah,
and so I missed one there. So a third one there is zinc. Zinc is, I don't want to say anyone's more important than the other, but zinc is actually very, very interesting here, where most of us are deficient in zinc, especially guys. Listen close. We need zinc. It's very, very important for us because it's the primary mineral we need for our prostate health. But zinc is also helping our digestive system and also helps your adrenal glands, which helps us defend ourselves against stress. But zinc, which is very interesting about zinc, it helps the cell exchange oxygen in and out. And this is why things like the hydrochloroquine has become an effective tool, even though it's designed for bacteria. It's not killing anything for us. What they really have discovered with the research is that hydrochloroquine, in some fashion or manner that wasn't even designed, it's helping the body absorb zinc better, and zinc helps the cell, the capacity of the cell to have oxygen. So, and again, I'll share with them, Raleigh, very specific ones I use. I have one called Immuplex, which puts it all together for you. So you get all these different components in there. And listen, this is a steady Freddy thing, meaning that next year there's going to be a version of this virus around. And it's time for us to start asking the questions, okay, next year if this virus is here, are we going to shut down the economy again? Are we going to step back? And the only way that the answer is going to be no to that is if individuals like you, individuals like me, we start to take a little bit more control of our personal approach toward this and get smarter and stronger. And again, I'm not voting that anyone gets real bravado here. I've never said that I don't believe in the COVID-19 virus. I do believe it exists. I believe it's a nasty virus for people that have coexisting in other conditions that are taking place. I think that it can be deadly for certain people. I also think other viruses can be very deadly for certain people. So I don't know if that answers. So vitamin C, the D, very specific types, and then zinc. There's a, Raleigh, and I know you're probably familiar with, there's a product I use called Immuplex. It's a whole food vitamin, and it's got all of the things. It helps the long bone part of the immune system, helps the thymus gland, helps the spleen, it helps your adrenal glands. And that's all part of what I call that immune alliance. And the good news here is this: if you're at least doing that, you can start to have some certainty. And remember, I kind of started this by saying the challenge we have now is uncertainty. We don't know when the economy's opening up. We don't know if the virus is ever going to stop, although we do. We know it's not going to stop. So anything that you can do action-wise to kind of give yourself a little more certainty, that's the step to take next.
All right. Maybe just a couple more, and then we probably need to move on so we leave room for the remaining part of the meeting. Darla has a question about different videos that have been made public regarding where the virus originated from and where it was created. I know there's been some theories about that. Any personal thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll give you my personal thought. And who was that, Darla?
That was Darla.
Right. Yeah, Darla. And those are important questions, but I think right now, honestly, the most important thing is that we start to look forward. And we allow all of ourselves to, instead of looking back at where it came from, right now, the most important, prevalent thing right now is each one of us to raise our bar. How do we get stronger? Who do we need to become needs the primary question. And I understand that we want to know where it came from. Maybe that we can avoid coming from, you know, it happening in the future. But individually, right here, right now, because the truth is a lot of that stuff is way above our pay grades. Our actions are going to be the most important things. And I say above our pay grades, listen, we're not going to be able to change some of those things that those groups are doing. And even all those theories out there, there could be truth to them or not. Yet at the end of the day, what matters is that what you and I do here day to day. So I'm going to encourage you to flip that focus of the mask and where it started from, who did it wrong, who did it right, of all of that stuff, and bring that all of that energy into how do I get smarter? How do I get stronger?
Got it. And I'd like to just have you do one more question, and that is for my friend Tracy Walker. I'm not sure if you can see her question on there, if you'd like me to read it to you.
I got it. And this is a great question. I got a bunch of these last night. Tracy's question: if I don't have a spleen, fighting cancer or another disease, any extra precautions? Because I do think we're all going to be exposed. And I think that it is an important thing to understand and grasp it, because once you do that, once you know you got to fight Mike Tyson, you start to prepare for Mike. That's the idea that I want us to have. That's the consciousness. So absolutely. So Darla, whether it be you or for a friend that you're speaking of there, anything that I just spoke to, and you're more than welcome to reach out to me privately if that's something you'd like to do, because there are advanced strategies we can take, and they are important for you or for your friend. So yes, a mask would be important for you. Proper social distancing, that's important for you. Continuously making sure that the environment you're in is an intelligent one for you to be in. But it does not mean you have to hide from life. If you survived cancer, make no mistake about it, you're tough as nails. So sometimes we have to think about our strengths instead of just our weaknesses, and then just add to them. And I think everyone on this call, just looking around the room here, again, there's someone down there who might be in their 20s, but I don't think many of us in our 20s. So I know everyone on here has, yes, that was you. That was, I don't see your name there yet.
Talking to you, Josh.
Yes. So every one of us has dealt with and experienced things in life that has really tested us. And this is just another one of those tests. Yet we got to remember that humans, we are strong by nature. We are loving by nature. We are caring by nature. We are survivors by nature. And we've got to let that energy come back out, because if we don't, we're going to get squashed. So, Darla, if you've had cancer before, you got your spleen out, you're strong. And there's some other strategies that we could add to that.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Bart. We do have a few other questions on here, so if you don't mind maybe responding to those on the message board before you, if you have a few more minutes before you exit, I'd greatly appreciate that. And thank you for joining us. So I do have, Dr. Bart uses standard process, is that right, for most of your supplements?
Yep.
I believes very strongly in them, and that answers some of y'all's questions. And I do believe I have a link that would allow you to explore those through Dr. Bart. So anybody who wants that, please let me know. Everybody on this call did get an email invite from me and or saw us on the Facebook link. So we can probably post that. I say probably because I don't know, under the Facebook link somehow. Otherwise, respond to me directly. And I definitely put you in touch with Dr. Bart in any capacity you'd like to talk to him about. Now, moving on, I would like to turn it over to Todd, if Todd is ready to give us our Rotarian of the Month.
We'll see y'all.
Bye, Dr. Bart.
Thanks, Dr. Bart. So this month's Rotarian of the Month is a very active person in our community. This Rotarian was born in Chicolo, Peru. I don't know how, I know I killed the pronunciation of that. The Rotarian grew up in Fort Bend County. This Rotarian attended Stephen F. Austin High School and went to Texas A&M University. This month's Rotarian of the Month has been involved with Rotary since high school. This Rotarian participated in the Rotary Exchange Program in Brazil. This Rotarian has lived all over the world, including Brazil, Cambodia, and China. This Rotarian owns and operates a nonprofit organization called Nonprofit Prince. One thing you may not know about this Rotarian, they are fluent in multiple languages. So if you could please help me congratulate May's Rotarian of the Month, Ricardo Espinoza. The virtual clap.
Yeah, and of course he is with us, but looks like he's away for his computer, so he missed all that, I think. But I mentioned it last time, and just to mention it again, Ricardo just recently helped the, help me with the organization, Todd.
Parks
Youth Ranch, thank you. He helped the Fort Bend Parks Youth Ranch qualify for meals, for up to 3 meals a day for their youth at the ranch, which they told us is going to save them somewhere in the ballpark of, I don't remember the exact number, but in the ballpark of about $50,000 a year, which is just a tremendous savings and allows that much more of their annual fundraiser to be used for other purposes. So, well done, Ricardo. Moving on, I'm going to open it up to the service chair announcements for anybody who actually has anything to share with us. That would be Darla, Dr. Doyle, Allison, Ward, Lynn, and Margie. We'll throw you in there since you have good information for us as well. So anybody who has something to share with us, please unmute yourself and begin before we move on.
I can go first if that's good.
Sure.
So I know that we are supposed to be doing socials every month, and it's kind of difficult at this point to get together. However, since things are kind of opening up, I don't know how everybody feels about getting together. So I'm going to shoot an email out, kind of give some feedback, a couple of places that were willing to let some of us be on the patio because it's not considered inside of a building. So, I'm open to suggestions. I know that our Zoom happy hour, that, that's a little different and people kind of want to see each other. So I'll send an email out, and let's just get some feedback on how everybody feels about that. Also, I don't know if Margie's going to talk about that or who's supposed to talk about this. So I'm just going to say we did distribute all of our hand sanitizer. I know Jeff Tallis is on this call somewhere, so pitch in if I mess up something here, Tallis. So we did distribute all of our hand sanitizer. It was greatly appreciated. I'm putting something together to share with the club about that. So thank you everybody that helped with that and dropped sanitizer off at different locations. I appreciate it. So
right.
that's all from me.
Thank you, Darla. Anyone else? Margie, we'll save you for last in case someone else needs to go.
Right. I don't have anything, but I'm sorry I missed board meeting last night. Appreciate it.
Nope. Thank you, Ward. Okay, Margie, I guess you're up.
Okay. So, can y'all see this picture? Nod your
Yes.
head. Okay, because see, sometimes I have trouble with these picture things. So this is Dr. Doyle delivering gift bags to the Fort Bend Women's Center. He's also delivering hand sanitizer to the Women's Center as our Mother's Day honoring of the women in the Women's Center. All right, and this is the first day that the sanitizer, can you see this when I change the picture? Nod your head if you can. Yes? Okay, thank you. So this is the first day that we started distributing hand sanitizer from Jeff Tallis's office. So here's a shout out to Farmers Insurance, Jeff Tallis, for storing the hand sanitizer until it was distributed. I'm glad to hear that it's all been distributed now. Oh, here's James and Lana Wilson, our Mary Kay friend, who also donated some Mary Kay products to the Women's Center. This is the first round of yard signs that we had made great rounds in the community. This, I believe, is Raleigh's sister making a heart over the sign in Raleigh's yard.
Actually, that is a nurse and a physician's assistant that live down the hall from us. One of the nurses works there at Methodist, and they just happened to see the sign on their way back to their house.
Right. Well, these signs were so popular that they've been featured on Facebook, and even Gary Gillen bought a couple from us. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some more signs in a minute. The rotary face masks that we are getting, they are in the hands of FedEx now, and I have a tracking number. They are on their way to my house to be delivered Monday the 18th, so they will be here shortly to be able to distribute to our members who sponsored them, who want some, and to other places in the community that need masks for their business or for their community service projects, whatever they're doing. Like Meals on Wheels is one of my favorite ones to donate things to. All right, here's the first round of signs. Lowe had a sign. This is David Shaw's house. They had a sign. Here's the sanitizer. And this is when Off the Vine delivered meals to the Methodist Hospital. This was our second round of meals that we delivered to the COVID workers at Methodist. Yeah, it was real healthy food, but it was still a nice treat for them. Okay, all right. We put our first sign, our healthcare provider signs, was in an ad in the Fort Bend Star that appeared on April 29th on a page. They did a special for honoring first responders, so that appeared in the newspaper. So that's pretty cool. This is the original donation of food to Memorial Herman from the Euro restaurant. And this is distribution of hand sanitizer by David Scatlin to the Fresno Fire. There's the Euros again. These pictures are in random order. All right, and this is Methodist, where the Euros were distributed to Methodist. All right, now we have a new sign design. We have had such a great response to the signs. We decided to sort of expand the sign to include frontline workers. So Ricardo came up with this design, and we've ordered more signs. So those of you that have asked for signs and I haven't gotten back to you, I wasn't sure where or how they were going to be, but now we're going to get 50 more signs, and this is going to be the new design of the Sugar Land Rotary signs, just to encourage all the frontline workers in our community, whether they be cooks, doctors, nurses, delivery people, or whatnot. So we're trying to honor all the first line responders. Okay, here, I wanted to share this with everybody. We now can receive donations for the for all of our signs and all of our from people outside of Rotary. So if you're inside of our club, you can have your account charged. If you're not in our club, you can donate on Venmo at Sugarland Rotary, all one word, or scan this QR code to donate to Rotary for our efforts. And I believe we're going to post some things on Facebook. We're going to post some things in the media to showcase our efforts to bring hope. We're not trying to show off. We're trying to bring hope and encouragement to the community. So if you know of anyone who wants to donate that is not in our club, they can go through this Venmo app to donate to us, which is awesome. All right, so that is all I have as far as the photos and all that. The masks, okay, the masks are going to arrive on the 18th, on Monday. I thought I said that, but I'm sorry if I missed. Yeah, so I don't know if any of these other questions are for me or not, but the question about the mask is they will be here on Monday. And if you need a sign, please email or text me. Don't post it in this chat thing because this chat thing doesn't get saved. But I'm gonna put my email here if you want to order more signs, or if you want to order masks. All right, so here is my email address.
That triangle of how we have the ability to abide by every guardrail that Chick-fil-A corporate puts out. And
Lynn, I think you've
I don't
got
think
something
that's
playing in the
like others for
background.
me.
they have a suite of
Is that a question for
Oh,
me?
sorry.
Okay, so anyway, does anybody have any questions for me? Otherwise, I'll turn it over to someone else.
Margie, I can
All right.
save the chat. Margie, I'll save the chat and send it to you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Margie. And Dr. Bart texted me a link to his supplements, which I did just a few minutes ago post in the chat. So anybody who would like to can click that link now, and it should pull up in a separate browser or what have you in case you want to explore some of those. And then if anybody, again, wants more information on that, just let me know after the call or what have you. Happy to share it with you. Now we're getting almost time to wrap up. Todd, I wasn't sure if you were planning to give us any kind of an update on Fall Classic or not. So let me know.
Yeah, I don't have an update other than what we talked about last week.
Okay. Nothing today. Okay. Well, I think that is all we have. Does anybody else have any?
Raleigh,
Talking? Jeff is talking.
I found this under the back seat of my truck. So I have one last bottle that I'd like to get away. So if somebody's got a burning desire, knows somebody that needs it, let me know and come get it because I'm tired of looking at these things.
All right, Ricardo wants it. He's Rotarian of the month, so he should get that last hand sanitizer. I think he should. It's his prize.
Because he's so dirty.
he sounded, I don't think he liked that, but he sounded like a wounded dog when he asked for it. So he must really need it.
Well, whoever gets to my office first, you can have it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, past District Governor Jeff Tallis. All right. Does anybody else have anything else for the good of Rotary?
I do. Also,
right.
Lurleen.
Lurleen does. Lurleen needs to unmute.
Oh, didn't see the hands. Thank y'all.
Now, question. Do you have any highlights from the board meeting? I know there's lots going on, but any highlights you could share from the board meeting to the club?
Oh, one that I can think of specifically, I'm glad you asked. It's almost like I asked you to do that, but I didn't. We did vote last night to once again waive the regular monthly dues for May. So they were waived in April, they were reduced in March, waived in April, waived now in May, which we'll see in a few weeks. And Lynn, I think we hear your background, thank you. So we're waiving them again for May, and we are currently not sure when we'll be going back to Sweetwater Country Club. They did tell me about a week ago now that they are actually willing and able to accept us. And believe they could accommodate the club basically up to 60 people. But for now, we told them we weren't quite ready to go back But everyone on this call, please be thinking about that, because that is obviously at some point we're going to need to go back or plan to go back, and we don't know quite what that looks like. If it'll be everybody or just some of us, with a combination of adding Zoom for those who don't feel comfortable coming into contact with one another. The future is uncertain there, but be thinking about that at some point. I would imagine that will happen. Thank you for that. And that was the biggest thing that I had in terms of follow-up from the board meeting. I think Margie kind of covered a lot of the other very pertinent parts of the board meeting, which were the various service projects that we're working on. And of course, we have raised a lot of money, both from our members and other people, other Rotarians and other people in the community that just wanted to donate. We haven't raised enough to cover it, so if anybody else feels inspired to help us with the causes, just let us know. Thank you. And then Bill, I think you have something for us.
Yes, I do. It's always great to have our district governor join us. So thank you, Governor Gillen. And then also, I want to let everyone know that next Wednesday, May 20th, we are going to have an outstanding program. Our own PDG and past president, Jeff Tallis, is going to be talking about a subject that's relevant not only to our club, but Governor Gillen, every club in District 5890. He's going to give the program will be focused on the Rotary International Convention that will be in Houston in 2022. The last time it was in Houston was almost 50 years ago in 1972, and before that in 1914. So we're excited to have Jeff there. And Todd, I know you mentioned maybe we could open it up to other, and Raleigh, you did too, to other Rotary clubs. Be a great time to have a lot of Rotarians learn all about what we can do in 2022. So that's all I have.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you, Jeff Tallis.
Thank you both, and glad you're here to remind us of that, Bill.
Raleigh, it's may I make one comment?
Absolutely, please do, Marvin.
I was had the good fortune of being on a 7:30 conference call this morning, and on that was our county judge. He shared with the group that we have had 40 deaths due to the COVID-19 virus. He said, interestingly though, in every single case, all 40 deaths only occurred only to those people who had mitigating other medical issues, meaning that there was some serious diabetes, there were many, whatever, and out of 40 cases, but in no single case was the virus itself the cause of death. A very interesting thing, particularly in view of our speaker today and what he was, I think, trying to share on a very enlightened basis, that we're going to confront that virus at some point, and it's a matter of whose terms we're going to meet it on.
Right. Yeah, and ironically enough, on the video that I saw him do about 2 months ago today, around March 13th, he said the same thing. He said, it's not a matter of if you're going to come into contact with it, but when. And whether you started to prepare your body and your mind for it 2 months ago or today, either way, if you hadn't done it yet, today's the day then. So thank you for that. Anybody else have anything else for the good of Rotary?
Ricardo had something to say. Ricardo?
Thanks. Hey, first I just wanted to pass by and thank y'all. I heard that I was Rotarian of the Month, so that's amazing. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to give you guys a heads up and thank the Shoreline Club, because it was thanks to you all using nonprofit prints, but our nonprofit is actually partnering up with organizations distributing meals to children. And I didn't send it to you guys, but yeah, so we're working on distributing meals to kids. And I don't know if you can kind of see, and it's free in the community. And so if anyone knows of anybody that's in Stafford, Texas, that's one of the closest sites here. They're distributing free suppers for kids. And I wanted to say it's thanks to the church, partly thanks to the Sugar Land Rotary Club. So thanks for that, guys.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, I think that's about a wrap. Thank you to all of our guests. Really appreciate you joining us today. We meet every Wednesday, currently via Zoom, except the last Wednesday of the month. So feel free to join us again in the future. And with that, go out there and be good Rotarians like you always are. Thank you. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Birthday, Raleigh.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Be safe.
You too.
Bye. And by the way, Flo, I've seen you go to a lot of like wine things virtually, and I've not been invited to any of them. So I expect to be invited. And Riley, I expect someone else to invite me in those things too.
All righty then.
Bye. Take care, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. And I'll do that, Carl.